Do MMA fans think Khamzat Chimaev is a boring fighter? I'll tell you my answer right off the bat. Do I think Khamzat Chimaev is boring? Absolutely not. I have his record pulled up right here. We see that he is 15-0 with 6 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission, and only 3 decisions. He just took the middleweight strap off Dricus du Plessis last night at UFC 319 in a very dominant performance where he won 50-44 on all 3 judges' scorecards. I've seen a lot of people talking about whether or not he's boring, whether or not you're a casual for thinking he's boring, and more arguments online. If you are here, throw a like, throw a subscribe, and let me know your answer to the question in the comments below. Let's jump right into it. So Khamzat Chimaev, he took the UFC by storm. His MMA career started off 4 wins, 0 losses, and then he fights Ikram Aliskerov in Brave. He won by first round knockout. World Sambo champion in Ikram. It was a very stylistically tough matchup for Khamzat, and he just absolutely nuked him with an uppercut, put Ikram to sleep. He ended up fighting one more time in Brave, and then after that, the UFC career began, and we see the uptick in strength of competition. We have John Phillips in the debut, and then we get Reese McKee, and then Gerald Mearshart. And in those 3 fights, he dealt something like 300 total strikes and only absorbed, I think I want to say less than 10. I don't know that for sure, but the number was drastic, and we were all very, very hyped on this Khamzat Chimaev. He goes out, he tells you, I'm going to kill everybody. I'm going to kill everybody. Allah Akbar. He's very energetic. He's very crazy, passionate about the sport, and his finishing ways have kept about him. He fought Li Jingliang. He fought Kevin Holland. He's finishing these guys. And then we see Gilbert Burns, where he goes to a decision. And that was a tough fight stylistically, just based on Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu prowess. He didn't engage in the guard as often as he has with other opponents, just because he knew of the danger. And he still put on a banger performance. It was a close fight, but I thought Khamzat was the clear winner. And then now we deal with illnesses, injuries, other reasons, whatever they are, that cause Khamzat Chimaev to be a little bit inactive, which is where some more criticism has been drawn as of last night when he won the title. Gilbert Burns is off for quite not that long before the Khamzat fight, but Khamzat Chimaev ends up taking on Kamaru Usman on short notice, and he's going up in weight, 10 days notice for Kamaru Usman, and Khamzat dominant first round, a lot closer of a second round, and then round 3, Kamaru Usman wins. So this is where the criticism of Khamzat truly begins. Is the hole in his game his cardio? A guy who goes so hard, but can he go hard for 3 full rounds? Can he go for 5 rounds? A lot of people were speculating no, he probably can't. And then we don't really get to see another opportunity for him to display his cardio, because he finishes Robert Whittaker in the first round via a vicious jaw crank, rear naked choke. Broke in the jaw of Robert Whittaker. It was brutal. And then, of course, we have almost another year of inactivity. So over a year of inactivity between Usman and Whittaker, and then just under a year of inactivity between Whittaker and du Plessis. This is a 5-round fight. Dricus du Plessis is primed and ready to go. One thing I'll say is this. Do I think Khamzat Chimaev is a boring fighter? No. Do I think a single performance can be both very dominant and underwhelming and quote-unquote boring? Yes, I do. Although his performance last night against Dricus du Plessis was incredibly dominant, I just think that he could have done a little bit more in terms of finishing instinct. He was dominating the fight. I'm not saying he could have just engaged in a kickboxing bout from round 3 on, trying to find a knockout on the feet, but he had dominant position. He was clearly up on the cards. I think he could have taken more risks from top position, whether it be extending more to try to land some more vicious ground and pound instead of those little baby shots he was landing, or if he really could have gone for some more submissions. Obviously it's position over submission, and I understand him fighting smart. Dricus du Plessis is a very dangerous fighter, and I know Khamzat knows that, but he was just winning in such dominant fashion that I think that he could have taken some minor risks to inflict more damage upon his opponent. Obviously, grappling can be violent. It can be brutal. We see Anthony Hernandez. Fluffy is relentless on the ground. He doesn't just hold you there. He beats you, lets you get back up, and brings you right back down again. And Khamzat Chimaev kind of was missing that part of his game last night. He was saying at the press conference, I'm going to kill you, Dricus. And it kind of didn't look like he was trying to do that at all. It looked like he was trying to point fight his way to a win via control and takedowns. You know, a lot of people will talk about Sean Strickland, for example. He talks crazy before the fight, and then he is a teep merchant and a jab merchant. And although I can understand why fighters or why fans would have an opinion like that, but do we not give Khamzat Chimaev the same criticism here, where he's talking about killing his opponent and then he goes out there and just, you know, kind of, I don't want to say stalls, but he was just wrestling, garnering control time, and when the fight would go back to the feet or in the beginning of a round, he would immediately shoot another takedown. It's just, for me, it was just a little bit underwhelming for how dominant it was. I'm a fan of fights. I love the beautiful violence. And in the main event of UFC 319, the beautiful violence was not there. We saw a dominant wrestling performance, but at the same time, a little bit boring. You know, I don't want to say I think Khamzat Chimaev is boring. I have said it multiple times in this video. I think Khamzat Chimaev is a very entertaining, relentless, mauling style grappler, and he has solid striking as well. He went out there and showed that he was the better man, you know, and Dricus, obviously, he should have been better about defending the takedowns. He should have been better about getting up. That is without a doubt a fact. If Dricus could have kept the fight on the feet, it would have been a lot different, and we would have seen Khamzat Chimaev have to find a different route to victory. It's just, for me, I thought he was so dominant that he could have asserted a little bit more finishing instinct in terms of ground and pound and submission attempts. Overall, you know, I can't really knock him too much. A lot of people are saying he's boring. A lot of people are calling people casuals for thinking it was boring. Go watch Muay Thai. Go watch kickboxing. You know, it is what it is. Everybody's going to have a difference in opinion, but I think that a performance can be both dominant and boring. As we saw in the two previous fights, we had two spinning back elbow knockouts. And, you know, to me, that's pretty damn entertaining. Seeing a guy hold another guy for 25 minutes after talking about how he was going to kill him, that doesn't really move the bar for me, you know? So I think Khamzat Chimaev will be back to his finishing ways here soon. I think he will potentially take some more risks in his next fight. I know he really wanted that title. For as little as he says he wanted it, I know Khamzat Chimaev is proud to raise that middleweight strap. And I think in a very talented division right now, middleweight is deep. We have Nasruddin Imavov and Kyle Baralho fighting for a title eliminator in 2 weeks. And then we have multiple other fighters who are in the wings as well, waiting on potential title shots like RDR and Anthony Hernandez. So Khamzat Chimaev is going to have a lot of opportunities to prove that he is still that finisher, that killer that we were all expecting to show up at UFC 319. And I think it was a one-off. I know Dricus du Plessis presents some pretty difficult threats. You know, he's a cardio whiz. He has explosive striking. He can just typically impose his will, and Khamzat did not give him the opportunity to do so. I think it was a good win. Do I agree with the fans that the performance was boring? Yes. Do I think Khamzat is a boring fighter? Absolutely not. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. Is Khamzat Chimaev boring? Was it a one-off? What do you expect to see in the future? I see a lot of people talking about Khamzat Chimaev first title defense is going to be October 2026. And he's going to lay and pray wet blanket again, just like he did this time. We don't really have that many statistics to show that he is going to continue to lay and pray on these fighters. You know, obviously the criticism Sean Strickland gets, it's because he does this time and time again. And this is pretty much the first time we've seen Khamzat Chimaev in a fight where he wasn't finding an early finish or completely dominating. And I'm excited for the future of the middleweight division. If you're here, like and subscribe, and I'll be dropping my UFC 319 full recap video later this evening. Thank you guys for listening, and let's get after it.